What if the person hurting the one you love was your own mother? Toan's world is shattered when he uncovers the dark truth. His powerful mother has been secretly sabotaging Diem, the woman he loves. Torn between family loyalty and true love, Toan confronts her, only to face an unexpected twist. A heart attack. A hospital bed. A guilt-ridden son. But behind those fragile breaths lies a dangerous game. Subscribe now to follow this emotional, high-stakes drama of love, betrayal, and the ultimate choice between blood and heart. Let's dive into Toan's heartbreaking story, where trust is tested, and nothing is what it seems. The late afternoon sun slanted through the blinds of Toan's office, casting sharp lines of gold across his desk. Everything looked as it always did, orderly, pristine, and silent. But in his hands, the thick envelope trembled. His fingers had gone cold. It had arrived that morning, an unmarked package left on the receptionist's counter. No return address. Just his name scrawled in rushed handwriting. At first, he thought it was another business file. But as he tore the seal open and scanned the documents inside, his entire world began to tilt. Photos. Bank statements. Voice recordings. Witness reports. All pointing to the same person, his mother. Toan stared at the final page, numb. It was a photo of Ly Tu Diem standing alone in front of her newly repaired house, the windows shattered for the third time in a month. Beneath the photo was a printed message. You wonder why she keeps suffering? Start by asking your own blood. His jaw clenched. Everything suddenly made sense. The anonymous threats Diem had received. The phone calls that dropped after one ring. The way her job interviews were mysteriously canceled, her friends suddenly distant, her home repeatedly vandalized while he was away on business. He remembered how Diem had once hesitantly said, "Toan, do you think someone's trying to keep us apart?" He'd laughed it off. "No one can do that," he'd told her, confidently. But now, his mother? Toan sank into his chair. His mind swirled with 1,000 memories, his mother's sharp glances every time he brought Diem over for dinner, her curt words hidden behind a polite smile, the cold silences, the whispered phone calls that ended when he walked into the room. He had always believed she would come around. That once she saw how much Diem meant to him, how genuinely kind and caring she was, she would accept her. But this? Scheming behind their backs? Paying people to stalk and intimidate Diem? Hiring men to wreck her home, to shame her in public, to turn the city against her? Toan's chest tightened with a mixture of anger and disbelief. He stood up abruptly, the chair screeching behind him. This was no longer just about love, it was about betrayal. A betrayal not from an outsider, but from the one person who had always told him she only wanted what was best for him. Was this what she meant by best? He walked to the window, staring out over the city skyline. Down below, people rushed through their lives, unaware that his was quietly cracking apart. For the first time in his life, he felt lost, caught between two worlds. The woman who raised him, taught him right from wrong, sacrificed so much for him, and the woman who had opened his heart, stood by him without ever asking for anything, loved him despite all odds. How was he supposed to choose? The documents still lay on the desk, their weight pressing on his soul. Toan took a deep breath, his fingers curling into fists at his sides. He knew he couldn't ignore the truth. He had to confront it. Hiding would only hurt Diem more, and right now, protecting her mattered more than anything. He turned, grabbing the envelope and keys in one swift motion. His eyes were sharper now. No more hesitation. It was time to face his mother. Toan stood outside the family estate, an elegant villa tucked away in one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. From the outside, it was a symbol of perfection: manicured lawns, marble columns, a pristine black car glinting in the driveway. But to him now, it felt like a fortress built on silence and secrets. He stepped inside, each footfall echoing through the long corridor. The familiar scent of jasmine incense lingered faintly in the air, a reminder of his childhood. But it no longer brought him comfort. His mother, Madame Mai, was seated in the living room, dressed immaculately as always. A silk scarf draped across her shoulders, her posture straight, her eyes unreadable. She looked up as he entered, a calm smile on her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Toan," she said, setting down her porcelain teacup. "What brings you here so suddenly?" He didn't sit. He didn't smile. He placed the envelope on the table with quiet finality. "We need to talk." Her eyes flicked to the documents, and for a brief moment, something passed over her face: shock, perhaps, or annoyance, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "I know everything, Mother," Toan said, voice steady. "I know you've been the one behind the harassment. The threats. The attacks on Diem." Silence thickened between them like smoke. Madame Mai leaned back, her fingers laced in her lap. "I did what I had to do," she said coldly. "That girl is beneath you, Toan. She'll ruin everything we've built. Our name, our legacy." "You don't know her," he snapped. "You've never even tried." "I don't need to try. I see it clearly, she's just another woman with nothing to offer but her sob story. She saw you, saw your name, your power, and she latched on like a leech." Toan's hands trembled at his sides. "That's not true. Diem is the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. She stood by me when no one else did. When I failed, when I fell, she was there. Not for what I had, but for who I am." Madame Mai's lips curled in distaste. You think this is love? It's weakness, Toan. You've lost focus. You've let her cloud your judgment. I won't stand by and watch my only son throw his future away. Toan stepped closer, his voice thick with emotion. You always told me to be strong, to be a man who leads with conviction. That's what I'm doing now. I love her, Mother. And I'm asking no, I'm begging you. Stop. Leave her alone. Let me live my life. A dangerous silence followed. Then, in one sudden, dramatic motion, Madame Ly clutched her chest and let out a strangled cry. Her body slumped backward, her breath ragged. Toan, my heart. His face went pale. Mother? She collapsed onto the floor. Panic surged through him. Help! Someone help! He dropped to his knees, lifting her into his arms, her eyes fluttering shut. Everything happened in a blur, the drive to the hospital, the flashing red lights, the sterile white corridors. Toan paced outside the emergency room, his chest tight, mind racing. His mother, his strong, fierce, impossible mother, was lying behind those doors because of him. He blamed himself for confronting her too harshly, for choosing Diem. He didn't know that Madame Ly, behind closed doors, was lying comfortably in a hospital bed, her eyes closed but her mind racing. Her plan had worked. Toan had come running, just as she knew he would. But she had underestimated one thing. The heart of a man truly in love doesn't break easily, and it never forgets the truth. The hospital walls were cold, sterile, and far too white. Toan sat hunched on the plastic bench outside the intensive care unit, his fingers knotted together, his foot tapping restlessly against the floor. The overhead lights buzzed faintly, and every time a nurse passed by, his head snapped up only to sink again when they walked past without a word. His chest felt heavy, like someone had wedged a stone between his ribs. He couldn't stop replaying the moment, his mother collapsing, gasping for air, her eyes filled with what looked like pain and betrayal. Had he really hurt her that much? Had his words, his plea for freedom, pushed her over the edge? I shouldn't have shouted. I shouldn't have accused her like that. His guilt was overwhelming. For all her flaws, Madame Ly was still his mother. The woman who had raised him alone after his father's death. The woman who had built their family's empire with sheer force of will. How could he be so cruel? His thoughts spiraled into shame until a nurse finally emerged from the ward. She's stable, the nurse said gently. You can see her now. Toan rose so quickly he nearly stumbled. He followed her down the corridor, past rows of quiet rooms, until they reached a private suite. The nurse knocked gently before pushing the door open. Madame Ly lay in the hospital bed, eyes closed, an oxygen tube resting gently beneath her nose. Her skin looked pale under the harsh fluorescent light. Machines beeped softly around her, adding to the illusion of fragility. Toan stepped inside slowly, heart thudding. He approached her bedside and knelt, taking her hand into his. "Mother," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." Her eyes fluttered open. "Weak. Tired. Toan," she murmured. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, voice cracking. I needed you to understand how much DM means to me. But I never wanted this. Never." She turned her head slightly, looking at him with glassy eyes. "You chose her, over me." Toan's throat tightened. "I didn't choose her over you. I chose to be honest with both of you. That's what you raised me to be, didn't you? To stand for what I believe in." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You've always been soft-hearted. That girl took advantage of it." He shook his head. "You're wrong. DM never asked me for anything. She loved me when I had nothing to offer. She's not a threat, Mother. She's the one thing that makes me feel human in this cold world." Madame Mai said nothing, just turned her face to the side, away from him. A nurse entered, checking her vitals, noting something on the chart. When she left again, Toan leaned closer. "Please, get better. No more fighting. I can't lose you." She nodded faintly, but her eyes did not soften. What Toan didn't see, what no doctor could diagnose, was the quiet calculation behind those aging eyes. Beneath the oxygen mask and weak pulse was a mind very much alert. She had orchestrated it all. The dramatic collapse. The hospital admission. The frailty. It was all an act, a mother's last gambit. Because Madame Mai knew one truth: guilt was the one thing Toan couldn't bear. But what she failed to understand was another truth, far stronger: love born from honesty grows roots deeper than fear ever could. As Toan sat by her side, unaware of the lie he was cradling, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from DM lit up the screen. "I'm here if you need me. No matter what happens." He stared at the message, then at the woman in the bed, and something stirred within him, an uneasy flicker. The storm wasn't over. But this time, he wouldn't be running from it.
Xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Ly Tu Diem Review. Vậy là tập phim ngày hôm nay của mình đã kết thúc tại đây. Nếu mọi người thấy tập phim ngày hôm nay hay thì mọi người có thể cho mình xin một like, một chia sẻ và để lại bình luận dưới video để tăng động lực tương tác cho video nhé. Đặc biệt là mọi người hãy ấn bấm đăng ký kênh, chuông có chuông thông báo để thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng vào 6 giờ sáng hàng ngày giờ Việt Nam trên kênh Ly Tu Diem Review.